A violent earthquake ripped through the valley, releasing enormous walls of snow that raced down both mountains toward the village below. Within seconds, the avalanche buried streets, homes, and vehicles, trapping dozens of survivors beneath several meters of freezing. One by one, desperate villagers clawed through the surface, using numb hands to escape the darkness and finally breathe again. But survival brought no relief, because they immediately began digging through the wreckage, searching desperately for missing relatives. By sunrise, the village had almost vanished, with only scattered rooftops, chimneys, and broken trees remaining. With no electricity, heat, food, or shelter, elderly survivors huddled together as the brutal mountain cold became. One elderly woman stared at a single roof tip, the last visible piece of the home that held her entire life. Then fresh fractures spread across the mountain above, warning everyone that a second, even deadlier avalanche could strike without warning. As darkness closed over the valley, entire families remained exposed, exhausted, and increasingly unsure whether they would. Then, heavy snow returned, temperatures dropped rapidly, and every passing minute pushed the stranded villagers closer to another.
All right,
Just
team,
as hope
we're
was
here.
disappearing,
Let's start the assessment.
Tech and the
Copy
orange-uniformed
that. Moving out.
TechTuong team finally broke through the storm and reached the valley.
We're here
Tech
to help.
crossed the
We'll
deep
get
snow,
you warm and
met
start
the
moving you
survivors
to
face to
safety.
face, and saw how completely
Thank
the
you, sir.
disaster had
We've been
destroyed their
waiting.
lives. He
Where is
listened
it,
to
ma'am?
every family,
It's there.
checked the weakest
The chimney
elderly
is all
residents,
that's left.
and realized that
We will
waiting for
find something
outside
to
help
help you,
was
sir.
no longer possible. Tech made his decision. Evacuate the entire community and build warm temporary homes before the next storm reached. Using satellite maps and avalanche data, the team traced every danger zone and searched for safe ground beyond the mountain run. Far from the unstable slopes, they found a flat, protected site where a temporary container village could finally begin rising.
The mission began in a frozen, uneven valley, where 12 displaced families urgently needed shelter. Before any structure could rise, GECH's crew cleared debris, removed weak soil, and graded the entire site. Survey teams checked every elevation, while excavators shaped a level platform. In less than a day, the empty hillside became an organized construction zone, ready for homes, safe paths, drainage, and a shared communications. With the ground stable, the team marked every foundation point and began excavation. Each hole followed the same measured grid, because even a small error could shift an entire row of homes. What looked like scattered trenches was actually the first precise outline of a temporary village. Next came formwork and reinforcement. Workers built each footing box, tied the steel cages, checked spacing, and out everything to the survey lines. The foundations would remain hidden, but they had to carry heavy steel containers through snow, wind, and unstable mountain water. The strength of the whole settlement depended on this stage. Concrete was pumped into every prepared footing, while separate crews used internal vibrators to remove trapped air and weak pockets. Levels were checked again and again, so every container would sit perfectly aligned, with no twisted frames or uneven doors later. When the final surfaces were smooth and cured, the valley finally had a solid structural spine, and rapid assembly could begin. Then the housing units arrived. Cranes lifted each container onto its exact foundation, while ground crews controlled the load with tag lines. One by one, the steel boxes formed a protective ring around the central courtyard, giving every family a plated room and a direct route to the shed facilities. But these were still cargo containers, not homes. The crew cut precise openings for doors and windows, then welded reinforcement around every weakened edge. Sandblasting stripped away old paint, rust, and industrial residue, exposing clean steel for inspection. Only after every wall was shone, smooth, and properly prepared could the weatherproof finishing begin. A complete anti-corrosion primer sealed the bare metal, followed by durable exterior colors that made every unit easy to identify. Corners, seams, welds, and repaired areas received extra protection against moisture. As the final coat dried, the industrial boxes began to resemble a real neighborhood symbol, and compact, but clean, organized, and dignified. Lightweight pitched roofs were installed above every container, creating a ventilated protective layer that carried rain and heavy snow safely away from the steel shells below. Insulated doors and windows shielded every home against the cold. Workers then added porches, steps, and handrails, making each entrance safe for children and the elderly residents. After checking logs, weather shields, lighting and drainage, warm light finally filled the village. These were temporary homes, but every family still deserved safety, comfort, and dignity. Private shelters were only the first step. The families also needed a shared place to cook, eat, rest, and support one another. For containers were positioned in the center as two balanced twins. Workers cut and reinforced the large openings, removed rust, repaired the steel, and prepared routes for water and electricity. By the end, 4 separate boxes had become the foundation of a communal kitchen, dining hall, and living room, the heart of a temporary village. The central containers were then sealed with an anti-corrosion primer and finished in coordinated colors. Every weld, joint, corner, cut opening, and repaired section received extra protection because this building would serve all 12 households every day. Workers checked the coating thickness, sealed exposed seams, and corrected every uneven surface. Once the final paint cured, the 2 wings were fully protected and ready to be connected. A precise black steel frame rose between the 2 container wings, forming the true central atrium and its pitched roof. Every column, beam, and roof member was installed directly in its final position, then checked for level and alignment. Glass panels filled only the completed frame base, sealing the whole against snow and wind. The result was a bright, weatherproof community space that still opened visually toward the mountains. Outside, the crew built a recessed communal fire lounge, completed the paths, restored the surrounding ground, and added practical landscaping. The goal was not decoration alone. Every route had to remain safe in snow. Every gathering area needed a clear purpose, and the courtyard had to handle many families at once. By the end, the empty shelter had become a usable, shared outdoor space. Finally, beds, tables, heaters, appliances, blankets, cookware, and food supplies were delivered into every home. The central building received a shared lounge, kitchen, dining area, and storage. By nightfall, the village was no longer an empty construction project. It was ready to receive people. From above, 12 compact homes now surrounded a warm communal center, all linked by safe paths and protected entrances. Each family had privacy, while everyone shared cooking, dining, storage, and gathering spaces. Still, GECH never called this the final destination. This village was emergency shelter safe first chapter that gave families time to recover. The next mission was already clear. Build strong, permanent homes, where every household could finally begin again.
After losing their homes, 12 families arrived exhausted, carrying everything they still owned through the winter. TechTuong knew these containers were not the destination, only safe shelter before permanent homes could rise. Each family received a temporary key, a warm room, and one quiet night without fear. TechTuong workers carried beds, food, blankets, and essentials into every home before darkness reached the valley. For the first time since the disaster, the families closed their doors and finally felt protected. At the center, a shared living room gave everyone space to rest, talk, and rebuild trust. The communal kitchen and dining hall meant no family would face winter hunger or isolation alone. That evening, they cooked together, shared one table, and turned temporary shelter into a community. But Tech's promise was larger. These units would protect them only until permanent houses were built. As lights warmed the valley, Tech left to prepare the foundations for every family's real home. This video was created with artificial intelligence for storytelling and entertainment purposes. The people and events in this story are fictional and do not represent a real-life incident. This content is for entertainment only, and we are not asking for donations or financial support.